when you're talking about water, it's important that we have clean water as for our indigenous people, because there's a lot of um, communities that don't have clean water. So I'm just a couple of years ago, and two falls ago, in I think it was in September, I went to an elders conference in Winnipeg, and we had something like maybe 5,000 elders there.
Oh, wow.
And one of the discussions we had, this is a contribution from the elders now I'm talking about, because the elders, this is what they said. We were beginning to talk about things like, new norm.
Right.
And what are some of the new norms that we should be looking at? Not necessarily just COVID new norms. Now that the economy has slowed down and the government has slowed down, maybe it's time for Aboriginal leaders in this country to begin talking about new norms in respect to duty to consult, in respect to reconciliation. Let me give you an example. In Northern Saskatchewan, a forestry company will come in there and they'll say to us, we're going to clear cut your land and you have no say. Why they say that is because we ask them why, and they say, well, we have a permit from the province of Saskatchewan to clear cut your land, and here are the plans of what we're going to do. So if you're ever going to achieve reconciliation in this country, the community should have say on the new norm.
Yeah.
Not just the government and the proponents, the business or the mine or the forestry companies. I think we should save forest areas where our animal creatures can survive and so forth, a model forest, those kind of things should be discussed as the new norm,
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera. And, that's just one example of what I meant by the new norm. And now is the to do it because everything has slowed down. The government of the day is only concerned about COVID at this particular time, and that's what they're discussing every day. But maybe it's time to tailor some of this new norm ideas to them, to plant the seed and ask government to come up with a new approach for Indigenous people called the new norm, and whether that would be included in reconciliation would be good, because the truth is the forestry companies tell us they're going to do this. That's the truth. How can you reconcile when people are saying to you, hey, we're going to clear cut your land and you have no say?
Right.
Tell him that.
Right. And the thing is, the government shouldn't be issuing permits without a consultation. It's the same thing with issuing exploration permits without consultation. They only trigger duty to consult when they find enough uranium that they want to build a mine. They don't trigger duty to consult when they're out there doing all the exploration and pushing down all the bush. I've got something that I'm looking at right now, and it's an issue in La Ronge area. They're clearing out, they're spreading out the forest. So they're thinning the forest around the town of Ronge. Well, in that area where they're thinning out is very much muskeg. So by thinning it out, they also open up the canopy. And so now you're going to dry out the ground where there's, you know, the muskeg and the moss and, you know, all the plants that grow in those areas. And they're doing it because of, to limit the fire hazard. And I think that there's other, I just don't see that is a really proactive approach. So there's lots of things going on and that people don't even realize. Peat moss harvesting is going on. Then there's the lumber industry. There's uranium mining, and at some point they do want to build nuclear reactors. And you can bet those will be in the north as well. And then when you have nuclear reactors, then you have to have nuclear waste sites to where to put all your nuclear waste. So there's lots of things going on. There's also the potash mining and things like that.
You see, when I made my presentation the other day, when I was on that was our last town hall, I talked about natural law.
Right.
See, at this conference I was at in Winnipeg, with all the elders, we talked about natural law.
Yep.
You see, you always hear the colonizers say, Aboriginal people are the protectors of the land. But they just say that.
Yeah.
They don't really acknowledge it to some degree. If we are the protectors of the land, then they should respect our natural laws. Our natural laws to the land, to the environment, to the water, to the air. You know, just the discussion we're having. So under the new norm, you see, the government's always told us as Indigenous people, you people don't have laws. We do have laws. One of them is natural law.
Yeah.
And it was the Creator that gave us the natural law. It was the Creator that said to us, you must protect the land. You must protect the environment. You must protect the water and the air for people to survive, for humankind to survive. And that's our responsibility as Indigenous people. So I think we need to have those discussions with the governments of the days and our colonizers. So how do we decolonize? One of the ways to decolonize would be for us to discuss, hey, these were our laws in the past. We had natural law. That's why when you came to Canada, this was the cleanest country in the world. That's why the word Canada means clean. Iganata. Iganata means clean in the Algonquin language.
Interesting. I didn't know that's what it meant.
Yeah. Kaganata. That's how we say it in Cree. So Algonquin is one of the biggest language group in Canada, and Cree are part of that. Algonquins are part of it, Ojibwe is part of it, etc., Blackfeet, the whole works. That's the Algonquin nation, and it starts in Quebec right down to probably northern BC.
Yeah.
And that's what we used to say, Iganata, which means it's a clean country, don't destroy it. But in 500 years, it's no longer Kaganata.
No, no. So one of our comments is, on occasion, a First Nation group is also the proponent, profiting directly from logging. Is this a conflict of interest? Do you have a comment on that? Or?
It could be considered a conflict of interest, yeah.
Yeah.
But remember what I said the other day? We negotiate. If negotiation doesn't work, then your confrontation comes in. That's why you step in and you go against the forestry company. If that doesn't work, the final step is litigation.
Yeah.
And that's where the conflict of interest can come in, is when you begin to discuss the conflict of interest. That happened in when they were trying to put the pipeline in British Columbia, how much resistance they had from the people.
Yeah.
Because the people took a stand.
Yeah. It's really funny. There's a proposed coal mine that's kind of moving forth in southwestern Alberta in the foothills. And the ranchers, it's the tables are turned on this one. The ranchers don't want the coal mine to go ahead, and it's actually an Indian band that's involved in the development of I don't know if they're a co-partner or if the mining company brought them on board as a partner, or what the story is, but it's really hard because so many Indian bands are moving into economic diversity within the resources. So, there is some big conflict there, and it becomes self-monitoring. So do other groups.
What we can call that is a balance.
Yeah.
It's a balance, because Indigenous people are not against development.
Right.
We're not against development.
It's just
we want
responsible.
A balance, and we have say to the development. And that's where the balance comes in. But at the moment, we don't have any say. Now, if we were given the opportunity to have say, then what you're saying in Alberta could be a good example of how now the Aboriginal people are saying, hey, we have some say.
Yeah.
And the same thing happened in the oil industry in British Columbia. But that's not really happening in northern Saskatchewan, because the forestry companies are saying to us, we're going to clear cut your land. And the mining companies are coming in left and right without too much consultation. They already have their plans in place when they come in. It's fine to have some employment, but I think there needs to be much more than employment. In my lifetime, I'd like to see northern Saskatchewan have major industries. Like, let me give you an example. You know where they get the coveralls from for the mining people? From Saskatoon.
Yeah.
Nobody can tell me that northern people can make coveralls, as a major industry.
Right.
Stuff like that. That's just one example.
Yeah.
Another example is the barrels that they bring in from Blind River in Ontario to come and get the ore. All it is a barrel lined with lead. But they make those in Blind River. They bring them in empty, and they take out the yellow cake back to the refinery in Blind River. Who's
Right.
to say that we can't build those barrels in northern Saskatchewan?
Right.
Or our people can build them? That's, to me, is sharing, and that's where you begin to build industries in northern Saskatchewan so that our young people can have a future
Right.
later on in life. So that's the way I'd like to see AMNSIS talk.
Yeah.
And push. That's occupying the field, like we did with our lacrosse school. We occupied the field. We took matters into our hand, and we succeeded. We didn't give up.
Yeah. So we just got this posted, and this is from February 11th. Sask uranium giant upstake in laser technology to fuel small reactors. So this is what we were talking about earlier. So, these are the things that they're looking at. It's, there's so many pros and cons to all of this stuff. And, but the thing is, we're not included in any of the discussion. We're not reimbursed when things leave the, are being looked at. And, we need to be involved in that process. So, those are the kind of things that we as AMNSIS want to be involved in. And, if there's a better way to do things, we can look at doing it a better way and go from there. But the thing is, we're just starting, and we're going to get on those tables, and we want to be. We don't want to just settle for what they're telling us they're going to give us, or they're telling us what they're going to do. We want to be in partnership and in negotiations and present through the whole encounter. And I don't think that has really been what we've been seeing. Sorry, Alan, go ahead.
When we're occupying the field as AMNSIS, we should put together a major conference on economic development and how we view economic development as Indigenous people in Saskatchewan. Why I say that, in my travels, I used to listen to Chief Louis from the Okanagan, and how he had moved his people forward. And some of the statements he made in his speeches was very powerful in the way he was moving. Another person I really admire is the young chief from Whitecap.
Oh, Darcy Bear.
Darcy Bear. He's progressive, and we need more young individuals like Darcy to be and Chief Louis to be progressive in this country.
Yeah.
Old dogs like me are.
Well, and the thing is, they're dreamers. Dreamers, dreamers are bringing us things and making things happen in our communities. And Chief Louis has a couple of advantages. He's in number one, a really good location, and they have their geographic areas. You cross the bridge in Kelowna and you're on reserve, and a lot of people don't even realize it. And they have a whole industrial area. They have subdivisions, residential subdivisions, and they lease out the land for people to build on, and the same thing within the industrial area. So they've got that land base, and the location makes a really big difference too in how well you can do economically, right? One of the things I've always thought of is the northern stores in the north, it's just ridiculous, the prices that people pay up there. And that, to me, that's one of the first things that should be undertaken is to invest and create, our own stores in the north. And, because there's huge profits coming out of those stores.
Well, you're talking about the north, but let me give you an example of an urban area. Mm-hmm. I think in the city of Calgary, they have a Costco.
Yep.
That's owned by the band and employs Indigenous people in that store at Costco, and it's a major development.
See, I don't know if the band owns it. I think that's Sutina. It's built on reserve land.
Okay.
Yeah, and because it's on reserve land, you don't have to pay PST there. So everybody that is treaty goes and shops at that Costco on the reserve, because the savings are huge, right? When you don't have to pay PST on products and stuff like that. So, and then there's people don't realize that there's the hidden taxes before you even get, you know, before the product hits the store. So there's lots of products there that you know, if the store is in the north, that can make quite a difference.